Welcome back to Living Local. Spring is generally the most popular time of year to sell a house, but with a lot of buyers looking to move into a new place before the school year begins. But experts say it's definitely possible to sell your home during the wintertime as well. Joining me in studio is Kyle Robinson with Ruhl Ruhl Real Estate. Thanks so much for being here, Kyle.
I appreciate you having me here.
Definitely. So first of all, how big of a factor is time of year when a seller is looking to sell their home?
Okay, so I think a lot of sellers ask us, what's the best time to sell a house? Well, I tell them whenever they're ready. To be honest with you, at any given point, there could be a buyer out there for any particular property. And actually, during the winter months, there's less competition on the market. So it's one of those things, if you were to look into a smaller niche market where, you know, let's say between 150 or 200,000, let's say during the spring or summertime, you might have 10 options. Right now, there might be 3 or 4. So if you got a buyer that needs to buy today, they got slimmer odds, you know, as far as not getting their house sold.
Yeah, and that can definitely be an advantage for the seller then.
Absolutely.
So as a real estate agent, what have you seen to be the biggest factors that contribute to a house getting sold?
Well, I think one thing that people definitely need to look at is cosmetic things. So one thing that I talk to sellers about when I come in is I ask them, I said, if you're going to stay here for the next 5 years, what are things that you're going to want to do? And typically we hear something, oh, I want to replace the roof, or I was going to do the siding, carpet, or paint. The reason why we ask those questions is because when we start to get feedback after the property is listed, I want them to kind of tell me what the feedback's going to say. So we kind of set that standard up front. I think typically interior things are what buyers are mostly looking for, also location and price. So I tell people carpet and paint typically sells houses. Don't get me wrong, kitchens and bath have a lot to do with it, room sizes and, you know, finished basements versus non-finished basements.
So those are all some important factors to look at. Makes a lot of sense. What should sellers maybe try to avoid when they're prepping their house in the winter?
Well, I think one thing, it's very important to get a professional over there. That way you're not doing improvements that you're not going to get money back on. You got to be very careful on where you put your money, because everyone thinks a dollar in's a dollar out, and that's definitely not how it works. So make sure you get a professional over there to give you some advice of where you should put your money at and what they think would be best to get your property the most marketable.
And Kyle, what can a homeowner do during the holidays to maybe get their house ready to sell?
Well, I think one thing is it's cold outside, so we're going to be inside a lot. I think it's a good time to start prepping, doing some painting, and looking at doing some small cosmetic touches around the house. I mean, you're not outside enjoying the weather, so what else are you going to be doing?
Exactly. You might as well do some indoor projects.
Me and my wife are in the process of doing that as we speak.
There you go.
We got a deadline, Christmas.
There you go, and that kind of helps. And you know, a lot of people have a little extra time off during the holidays, and it's like you might as well put that to good use.
Absolutely.
Be productive.
Absolutely.
So what are some advantages of putting your house for sale on the market during the winter? I know that you mentioned there is perhaps a little bit less competition out there. Maybe what are some other advantages you've seen?
Well, I think that's probably your major advantage right there. I think the fact that there's limited inventory out there and there's potential buyers that might be moving in for relocations, or there might be specific needs of why they have to buy now. So I think that that's really the big advantage of listing during the winter time. Yeah, I understand you're not going to get the curb appeal you would during the spring or summer, which, you know, that's definitely appealing to some buyers. But I think in some cases, if you have to sell in the winter, it's not necessarily something that can't be done. We're still selling houses in the wintertime. It's slowed down a little bit, but we're still getting it done.
And Kyle, what are the benefits of having a professional real estate agent kind of help a seller through this process?
I think the most important part is definitely to get the inside information on what's going to get you the most money. Where are you going to put the money to make sure that you get the best return? Also, to make sure that you're pricing it accordingly. I think the biggest thing that you have are people that think they know everything, and they might. I'm not saying that they don't. But I think that there's issues with pricing, either overpricing, underpricing. We rarely see it priced right when they're doing it without a professional. So it's one of those things, at least get some advice prior to making a decision. And then at that point, you can weigh what's best for you and your family.
And when you're working with clients on when they're selling their houses in the winter, what are some challenges that or some problems that they may bring to you, that some things that they feel like are challenges during the winter?
Well, I think the biggest challenge you deal with a lot of sellers during the winter time is showings. Obviously, they're going to be calling you asking why things have slowed down. Typically, we don't see it slow down until roughly right around Thanksgiving time. Well, this year it slowed down probably at the end of October, beginning of November, so that kind of was a little bit different a change. Then generally about mid-February is when it starts to pick back up, which leads to a lot of April and May closings. I would say that would be the biggest concern that a lot of sellers have. And then obviously sellers that aren't here locally, snow removal is a concern they have, so we help facilitate them getting in touch with contractors for that, and just making sure that people are checking on the house to make sure that there's nothing wrong with any water pipes and that the heat's running. So we definitely go the extra mile to make sure that our sellers feel comfortable even when they're not living here.
That's great. Kyle, thank you so much for being here and for all the information. We appreciate it. If you would like some more information or get your home listed, you can find your dream home this winter. You can visit robinsonteam.ruhlhomes.com. We'll have more details posted on ourquadcities.com. Stay with us. More Living Local is just ahead.